Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. Now, I put a post out a day or two ago about this up and coming video. Again, keep it short. Don't always say that. That we don't need to focus on the dark to ascend. We don't need to know what's going on in the dark. And what I mean by dark, I mean, the corporations, the governments, the people we will perceive as controlling our life, controlling humanity, dictating terms in regards to humanity. The things that are making us down, helplessness, or helpless, put us into fear, powerful, or what we deem as powerful. We don't need to focus on that to ascend. In fact, our attention on all of that is what actually is a big part in why we're not ascending, why we don't ascend. Okay? It's part of the game of duality. It's us embodying our human identity. And what I mean by that is that our human identity is shaping an identity that is conditional or conditioned, not authentic. Okay? And this comes also into the question about free will. You know, if somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, Chris, do we have free will?" And my answer to that would be, as the human being directed by the mind, because the intelligence that facilitates through the mind, its extent of its will is thought. So if I was to say a human that was directed, guided by the mind, no, there is no such thing as free will. But if you are a human that is guided by feel, which is the extension of the will of the intelligence consciousness that comes through the heart, which is you as a soul, you as a higher consciousness, that's your innate intelligence, that is in fact you. Yes, you do have free will. So you can see that there is two pathways. Okay, and one pathway allows you to grow, to evolve, which means to ascend, right? Because ascension's a rediscovery of who you are authentically and what you're capable of, and redefining the definition of power. Who is powerful? Now, if you're somebody that's allowing feel to guide you, being heart-centered, allowing your heart to lead your life, because that's where your soul, your consciousness comes from, I would say you're very powerful. Okay? You're the most powerful thing there is. Okay? And the most powerful influencer in change there is. You know what? In quantum physics, they state that there is no reality without its observer. For reality to be here, it requires an observer. Now, that statement there has a weight to how important where we place our attention, because that's observing. That is the act of observing, is using our attention. First two letters, right? Looking at something. So the fact that quantum physics have got to a point where they're saying, okay, reality for it to be there requires an observer, that is the power of attention. Okay. And when we are in that heart pathway, right, self-awareness, okay, we are self-aware that we can see that as actually a choice that is bound in every moment, is you get to choose where you place your attention. Now, for the majority of humanity, that is dictated through the other pathway, which is an intelligence facilitated through the mind and extending its will through thought. It is not about expanding you, it's about limiting you. Okay? It's tripping you up, blocking, obstructing you, distracting your power of attention, not into you growing, evolving, and ascending, but you failing at ascension. So we could simply say that is distraction of your attention. This is why I state that we don't need to know about the dark to ascend. Okay? Because the people that generally do follow the dark, that's a human perspective. It's not a soul consciousness one. Okay? So the universal law is that where we place our attention, energy flows to, right? Where attention goes, energy flows. It's a common expression. These common expressions give you a hint. Why they're around for so long and they've always been around is because there has weight to it. It has truth to it. So if we look at that, where our attention goes, energy flows to, we can then see it as an energy transfer. It's an investment of your own energy as a creative force, as a powerful creative force. Okay? And you have the choice to invest your energy into more darkness or more light. Simple as that. Okay? It's your choice. Okay, if you want to follow, okay, how the government's corrupting you or the people in corruption, looking at social, looking at ancient societies like Illuminati or Cabal, or on the alien level, reptilians, the Greys. You could do that, still universal laws intact. And the more you spend your time, your attention on that, the more you feed your energy into that being part of your awareness, part of your reality. If those things are not making you feel good about yourself and you're concerned about them or fearful of them, why would you feed your energy into it? If you've got the choice to learn about them or learn about what you're capable of yourself, I know what I'd choose, because I choose it every day, is to find out what I am capable of in regards to providing more love, more light, more joy, more harmony, more peace to my reality, to my clients, to people around me, so they can drop into their heart space and get away from the mind. Okay? So I'm not going to go into great depths in regards to what that darkness is, because again, I don't want to give it any more energy. Okay, a lot of these things that we have in the world are only there because you allow it to be part of your awareness. It's a very, very powerful word is allow. Okay? Everything, the whole victimhood aspect, the aspect of there's something out there to get me, is a human mind matrix creation. It's not a heart-centered soul consciousness creation. Okay? Because your higher consciousness, your soul, just wants you to have a great experience where you ascend, where you turn information into wisdom. Okay? Where you expand your creation. That's what you're here to do. You're here to expand your creation. Now, living as the human with the intelligence that facilitate the mind, that is not you. It's not going to vilify. You're just going to stay its intelligence. That's not you. It has its own agenda. And it will use your creative ability for its own means. And the majority of people out there don't even believe that they have a creative effect or influence on reality. They think they're merely just observing and participating with reality. No. That's been a perception deception by the intelligence that want you to embody the mind, right? So you can continue to be controlled and manipulated. Now, we don't need to go down that track and find out who that is. We just need to realize that, jump off that pathway of the mind and jump to the pathway of the heart. When we jump to the pathway of the heart, right, which is your soul, your consciousness, your inner aspects of you. Now that is you. It's not external to you. Again, another human thing is to see everything external to you. Your soul, your consciousness is you. It's an evolved aspect of you that is not bound to the conditioning limitations that you've been applied to as the human by the mind. Okay, so we just jump to that pathway instead of thinking our way in our life, using mentalities in our life. We let that go. We allow our heart to lead our life and allow us feel to guide us. And feel is more instinctual, but it's more aligned with being present, because the only time you don't create in the past, you don't create in the future, you create in the now, which is the present. You know, that's the time where you need to have the greatest awareness of all in that moment, which is to be present. The pathway of the mind will always try and get your past to control you, so it pulls you back, or to get you anxious about what's around the corner, the future. It will remove you from the moment, remove you from the now. If you're somebody that's trying to be present and mind chatter comes in, all these things that are trying to get in, well, that's because the mind, you're still part of that mind matrix, that pathway. Now, the way forward is to jump off that pathway and get onto this one of the heart. Okay? Because all of a sudden, when you're on that pathway, for the people that are concerned about protection, you are protected now when you're on that heart pathway, because all those entities, demons, negative, dark intelligence, they are not part of that pathway, so they can't access you. It's as simple as that. And instead, on this pathway, you feed all your energy into providing, creating, and walking upon a pathway we call your sacred timeline, which is that destined timeline for you to grow, evolve, ascend. Okay? If we allow the other pathway, the mind pathway, to come into play, and our awareness shifts away from here and up here, we become more focused on the external world instead of what we're doing, our self-awareness. So we lose sight of what we're creating in every moment. And we start to create things that actually could be the very things that are sabotaging your life and reality, but you won't know that. Because the intelligence that comes through the mind doesn't want you to understand that. It wants you to point the fingers to other things, to create further conflict. That's what the gamma duality is all about. And if we abbreviate gamma duality, we get God, G-O-D. Okay? What have we been taught? Again, as a human, everything's external to us, right? What's God? And essentially all religions, something that's external to us. Right? So you've got to understand that these intelligences, through the facilitation of the mind, why do they require us then? I'll tell you why, because they're not the God. A word that is bound to the word God is creator, right? To be a creator. Now, quantum physics has stated that, okay, for reality to be here, it needs to require an observer. Because why? Because that observer, for using their place of attention, but also coupled with their intention, is what creates reality. Okay, so we create reality. But we're hoodwinked and conditioned not to see it that way. So therefore that intelligence that comes through the mind that is hoodwinking us, is controlling us. We'll just use our creative ability to create for them. So in the human story, where we are little old human, insignificant human, and that there are gods, it's actually the other way around. That's how wrong it's been. Okay? So we need to decide not to participate in that game. Okay? And how we decide to no longer participate in that game is to focus on bringing through our authenticity. It's because when we drop into the heart and we expand our connection to ourselves, a rediscovery of ourselves, but at the same time we learn the wisdom to know how to use our abilities to change creation around, get rid of all this creation that's just gone into conflict, further conflict, which really is the whole end game of gamma duality. And we start to create based on what we authentically are as peace, love, and light, not chaos. Okay, from here, this miscreation that we're doing from here, we want to provide pure creation from here. Okay, so, and when we become a representation of our authenticity, then because we're creative, right, we're projecting that out. And we create space and state for others around ourselves to do the same, effortlessly, by falling into their hearts as well. Getting away from here and coming back into their authenticity. As I say, the human is a conditioned version of self. You as the soul consciousness, that's your authentic self. You want to go back to that. Okay? That's what Ascension's all about. Okay? And the beautiful thing about that is you make your life a lot more simple. One thing I do notice with people that chase and follow the dark is life becomes complex. It doesn't become simpler. Okay? And we create out of fear. That's really the sum of it. You know, we want to create out of love. We want to create out of peace. You know? And the way that we do that, if we want, you know, what's the global thing that we want? Global peace. Well, global peace starts from individuals deciding to own up to themselves, be truthful, be authentic to themselves, and be at peace with themselves. Because, as I say, everything that's within us, we project out. So if we're at peace with ourselves, we're going to project peace onto the world. Okay, and this is how we go about it. You know, here at Truly Holistic, you know, we do Ascension sessions, but we do reality coaching. And this reality coaching is about creating a new paradigm, which is based on neutrality, not duality. And neutrality is about being heart-centered, about allowing the heart to lead your life. Right? When we really look at the simple things about whenever we've felt the best as the human, is things like being in a state of love, whether it's in love with someone or love with what we do. And love is a feeling. Love is not a thought process. Right? And feeling is an extension of the will of your consciousness, you as a soul, from your heart, not from the mind. So if you want more love in your life, you want to feel more like that, you know, as the human thing again, we feel like a whole lot of things have to come in alignment for someone else to love us. No, you be love. You can create that state yourself. You don't have to rely on other people. Okay? This is also a lot more sustainable way of doing things this way too. Okay, so we feel best when we feel loved, right? When we're in the state of love, right? It's a feeling, right? Now, whenever a human mentions about how they perceive, how they would love their life to be, how they see their life to be, their dreams coming true, they always say, it's what my heart desires. It's not what my mind desires. It's not what my brain desires. It's not what my thoughts desire. It's what my heart desires. So if you're allowing the mind through thought to guide, dictate how you create, how you process your life, how are you going to get what your heart desires? Because you're on the wrong pathway. The mind's not going to give you that. This is why so many people will come to me and say, hey, I'm trying to manifest what I want and it just doesn't happen. Well, maybe it's not happening because what's facilitating and guiding how you create is perhaps not coming from the heart. It's not coming from you as the soul. It's coming from another intelligence through the mind. So if we want our heart's desires, we need to let our heart guide that process to provide our heart's desires. It's really quite simple when we really look at it. And this is an issue as the human with the mind. We make things more complex than they should be. We become very cerebral. We become very analytical about things. We look at numbers more than just common sense. I shouldn't really call it common sense because it's not very common. Let's just say sense, eh? Okay? But we just need to get that back to basics. And the basics is to go back to square one and self-awareness. What am I doing? What am I doing? Okay? Because when you start to think about the darkness and the dark and everything out there, you lose your self-awareness. So you lose sight of what you're doing. And that can lead you down a path where you kind of lose yourself. And that's the term, a lost soul. Why? Because our awareness shifts into here. Our soul's not found here. Consciousness is not found here. It's found here. I read a quantum physics article, and you got to realize in science is a mind creation. It's not a heart-centered creation. So they'll define consciousness that in human is in the brain. No, it's not. Now, again, that's a conditioned viewpoint of it from the human, with the mind guiding or controlling, dictating that experience. And I'll give you an example of this, right? I was reading a quantum physics article and he was talking about human consciousness. He was talking about the brain. Funny that, right? And he was mentioning that, okay, the brain is like a computer. And we quite often in sessions, we call the body an interface, right? Which is another name for a computer. And you mentioned that the brain is a computer that's always trying to predetermine, predict what's about to happen. Okay. So straight away I was thinking, he's contradicting himself. He's saying about consciousness, but he's mentioning the brain, right? Where he believes is consciousness, the origin of consciousness in the human, is something that is predetermining and predicting. Well, how we can define consciousness is to be aware. To be self-aware. Now, you can only be aware and self-aware if you are in the now, in the moment, in the present moment. But he's mentioning about the brain predetermining and predicting what's coming next, which is not about being present. It's about towards the future, looking around the corner to see what's coming. That's not consciousness. Now, for anybody that is reading that article from here, they wouldn't pick up on that. But if you go from here, it's clear to see how much he contradicted himself. You'll see a completely different world from here compared to here. Okay. This is where this whole perception-deception comes from. Right? Is that we'll see a completely different thing from here compared to here. And, you know, that's what makes us all individually unique from each other, is how we perceive reality, our perception of reality. And we should always see ourselves as different, and it's perfectly normal. That's the problem of humanity as a collective, is we feel like we all have to be the same. No, we don't. This aspect of conformity. So anyway, I hope we'll finish it there, because as I said, it was supposed to be short. It's 25 minutes long. How about that? But this is my video in regards to that, because you know, what I'm really striving for, and it has been for a number of years, is ascension for myself, but for a number of people. And I make a number of products. For example, these are my rings, Tensor rings, which are called the Manifestation Trio. And these 3 rings keep you on your sacred timeline, right? Which is a path, a journey, a future, a timeline that is in the highest good, in alignment with you, which is leading you to ascension. And why I made these was because I know that people are trying their best, right, in regards to trying to stay heart-centered, feel their way. But there are things in life that just can shift you up to here. And when we do get into here, we start to veer off track, so to speak, in regards to that sacred timeline. And we start to form other creations that are then not in the highest alignment or good for yourself. So we create these branched timelines or pathways that you are feeding or investing your own energy into. Now, this could also result in an illness or a dis-ease, because you've got to realize that's an investment of your energy. So that means energy away from the body. So your body then has less energy. So this could, connect into an illness or a disease you're having that maybe has fatigue or tiredness or exhaustion, those sorts of things. And the body, innately knows how to heal itself, rejuvenate, regenerate itself, but like all things, it needs the materials to do it. So by using these rings just once a day, you can reset, retract those branch timelines, right, so that they don't exist anymore, those creations. And your full investment of your energy goes back onto that sacred pathway, that sacred timeline, which is in alignment with you and the highest good for you, to keep you going towards ascension, not veering off track or failing ascension. So this product is an ascension tool, okay? And there's a key aspect to how it's used, these 3 rings. We've got one ring here, which is the infinite cube that you'll place over your heart, right? Which my consciousness calls our gateway, because it's a doorway. It's a veil between worlds that facilitates a quantum path of your expansion that comes through, okay? That's why the heart's so important, to allow it to lead your life, because that's the origin of you right there. Okay, so you keep that one there. And then we've got a couple of rings that are about the same size, so you've got to put them close together, see which one's what. And the biggest ring, we call the Eye of Agamotto ring. You'd place that over where people would call the pineal gland or third eye. Now, I call that eye the singularity eye, or your insight. Because in quantum physics, what are they striving? They want to know what's in the black hole, because they believe that the answers of the cosmos, quantum information, will be there to get the answers. So singularity means answer. Now, this eye here is your insight, right? Which couples your observation, because we can observe day to day. It doesn't necessarily mean that we then know and understand and fully represent what we see. That requires insight. Okay, so this eye is very important in regards to your insight. Okay, it's funny how we come to that conclusion, because these 2 duality eyes, right? Duality, it's seeing a duality. Seeing your external world, and it's not in the head, it's on the outside part of the head, to see. Now this eye is embedded in the head, so it was never supposed to see out here, because it would have been on the outside part of our body. So this is our external eye, external sight. That is our internal sight. You shorten that, you get to insight. right? It provides greater knowing, understanding, and reasoning to what it represents, what you're observing, which then turns information into wisdom. That's why you're here. Now, that there and your heart are your guides, and they guide you through feel, not through thought, through feel. Okay. Now, the last ring, which is the medium-sized ring, it's quite close to the biggest one. We call the generational cubit. This is your ground, right? So when you're standing up, when you're doing this, and you've got that one there, right, and you'll have your two hands free, there and there. You'll just have this on the floor between your feet, right? Cutting in between the ankles. And how this all works together is that to create your sacred timeline, to enable your growth, evolve, and ascension, it requires these two guides, right? So you're facilitating those when you're placing those rings there, for that to then be grounded into this plane, right? Essentially creating your yellow brick road, right? So this is how they work. They're wonderful. You only have to do them once a day to reset and retract those branch timelines to make sure you are either on the sacred timeline, continue to be on the sacred timeline, or to jump back onto it. So that's a wonderful product. I really recommend them. They're on my website, on my product page, product store at trulyholistic.net/appointments/. To book any appointments for Ascendance Healing or Reality Coaching, again, go to, sorry, for the products, I got that wrong. I just gave you the appointments page, right? So trulyholistic.net/appointments/ is for the Ascendance Healing and Reality Coaching. To go to the product store for the Manifestation Trio, you go to trulyholistic.net/products/ and you'll find them there. Now, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel for further content and push the bell for notifications. Please like this video as well. Give it support so we can get this information to as many people as we can. Till next time.